Well, good morning, everyone. Today, I'd like to bring a message on a shepherd versus a hireling. So, we're going to start over in John chapter 10, verses 12 and 13. John chapter 10, verses 12 and 13. John chapter 10, verse 12 reads, "But the one who is a hireling, and who is not the shepherd, whose own the sheep are not, sees the wolf coming, and leaves the sheep, and flees. And the wolf seizes the sheep, and scatters them." Verse 13. "Now the hireling flees, because he is a hireling, and has no concern for the sheep." So I think this is a very good illustration of this shepherd versus hireling. A few months ago, Colleen and I decided that we were going to have to start mowing the yard. So I I had some trees down on one of the tabletops. As most of you know, we have a dirt bike track in our field, so we have to take care of that as well. But we wanted to get these trees out so we could mow the whole thing and it looked right. So I asked my youngest boy, Ethan, if he would pull the trees up by the roots so we didn't have to worry about them coming back. And he went down, and a couple of days later I asked him about it, and he said he couldn't do it. So a few days later, I got off work early, and I went down there and took care of it. I was able to get every tree pulled up except for one, which I had to get a shovel and cut the roots on it to be able to pull it up. But a few days later after that, we were sitting around talking about it, and I asked Ethan to look down at the tabletop to see that there were no trees. And I told him, explained to him, that in this case, I was the shepherd of this property, and he was the hireling. He couldn't get it done, but the shepherd was able to. And Colleen told me a little bit ago that he still uses this on a daily basis. He looks at situations and can tell which ones are considered the hirelings and which ones would be considered the shepherds. So who are the shepherds? Well, the obvious answers are the speakers, the people that teach in church. But maybe there's some not so obvious answers, like husbands, fathers, mothers, or anybody who is considered a head of household. But have you ever thought of yourself as a shepherd, regardless of your situation and what you do and say every day? So over the last few messages that I've given, there's been a theme. I didn't realize it until I was probably halfway done with this one. So those other ones are, so you think you're a good person and above reproach. Do you remember what it is? It's personal responsibility. We are called to take responsibility and accountability for our actions. Hold your place here in John, and let's go to 1 Samuel chapter 17, verses 34 and 35. Here David is trying to convince Saul to let him go take on Goliath. And he must have did a really good job of it because he ended up letting him do it. So, David the shepherd, this is what he says to Saul. 1 Samuel chapter 17, verse 34. "And David said to Saul, Your servant kept his father's sheep, and there came a lion and a bear, and took a lamb out of the flock. And I went out after it, and struck it, and delivered the lamb out of its mouth. And when it rose against me, I caught it by the beard, I struck it, and killed it." So did David even think about it? Did he even consider his own life to go protect this lamb that was taken against a bear and a lion? I don't think he gave it much thought at all. He either had faith enough to know that God would protect him, or he was about to be willing to give his life for that sheep. So there's a song that goes along with this message quite nicely. It's by Aaron Tippin. It's called "You've Got to Stand for Something." So I would like to go through the chorus of that song line by line. You've got to stand for something. So what do we stand for, brethren? I hope the answer for all of us is God and His truth. Most of you know, but maybe some of you are about to find out, we have actually had to stand up for what we believe about Passover recently and when it should be kept. It's very important. So what is the key to standing up for truth? We have to know what that truth is. Well, what is the truth, brethren? John chapter 17, verse 17, Jesus says, "Your word is the truth." He makes it very specific. He doesn't say your word is truth. Your word is the truth, which in my mind makes it pretty clear that His word is the only truth. So what does this mean for us? Well, we have to read it. We have to know it if we're ever going to be able to stand up for it. So the next line of the song is, "Or you'll fall for anything." And in Matthew 24, verse 24, Jesus said that if possible, even the elect may be deceived in the last days. Just a few weeks ago, Colleen and I had to have a conversation about exactly this, both accusing the other of this very thing, of being deceived by people we were listening to online. And I had to wrestle with and come to grips with the question, well, what if she's right? What if I am being deceived by people I'm listening to, by people I look to for truth? So I did, and I had to make changes about who I listened to during the day. So the next line of the song is, "You've got to be your own man, not a puppet on a string." I think this one is pretty self-explanatory. We simply cannot be these people who just go along to get along. If we start to do that, it may lead us straight to the next line of the song. Never compromise what's right. Again, this is a pretty self-explanatory. We have a saying in America that I really like, and it's to just keep doing the next right thing. But I have to reiterate, we have to know what the next right thing is by knowing what God says about it in His word. The next line of the song is, "And uphold your family name." Brethren, if we're baptized and we have had hands laid on us, then we hold God's family name. How important is that to us? And in doing so, we are representing that name to the world, whether we realize it or not. So in that sense, we are being shepherds to anyone we come into contact with in our daily lives. Just an example, Colleen had a coworker who was very mean to her whenever she started her new job. But over the years, Colleen has been able to live this way. And recently, she's confided in Colleen about some things that she never would have before. And it goes back to Proverbs chapter 16, verse 7. "When a man's ways please the Lord, He makes even his enemies to be at peace with him." So another example, we have a song in one of our hymnals that says, "Do others see Jesus in you?" Do they? I have a coworker who told me something, and I'm not bragging. This is just facts. Believe you me, God has given me a great wife, an awesome daughter, and some really good friends that if my ego ever got the size of a chickpea, they would very easily and quickly stomp that stuff out. So this is just facts. I had a coworker tell me one day that of all the people that he knows that calls themselves Christians, that I am the only one who actually lives it. Are we living it? Can others see Jesus in us? So I hope you still have your place marked in John chapter 10. So let's go back there and read a little more to get the full scope of what I'm talking about today. John chapter 10, we're going to read verses 11 through 14, which is going to include what we started with. Verse 11, I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd lays down his life for the sheep. If someone came in to the door with a gun, I would be willing. It's already been decided. I would be willing to lay down my life for everyone in this building. But the one who is a hireling and who is not the shepherd, whose own the sheep are not, sees the wolf coming and leaves the sheep and flees. And the wolf seizes the sheep and scatters them. Now the hireling flees because he is a hireling and has no concern for the sheep. Brethren, we have to be concerned for one another. And that has to be decided beforehand. You have to make the decision right now whether or not you're going to have concern for others. Verse 14, I am the good shepherd. He reiterates the fact that he is the good shepherd. And I know those who are mine, and am known by those who are mine. So my question to you, and what I'll leave you with, is a couple of questions. How much do we really know Jesus? But a more important question to me is, how much does Jesus really know us? We are constantly walking around every day representing our Father and His Son's name on a day-to-day basis. We have to continue to keep that in mind as we go about our daily lives.